Thank you so much for the invitation to be here today. I made a special request to turn down the lights. Who, as a show of hands, who here is sensitive to lights? More than half of the people in the room. So I hope for the next 10 minutes you'll get a little bit of peace. It's quite surreal to be here today for many, many reasons. The first is back in 2013, over 6.5 years ago, it was at this same hospital that I was admitted into the emergency room when I had my concussion. Obviously, I have no recollection of the series of events that happened that evening because brain trauma does something to your memory, and a lot of things happen at once. But what I was told from what family had told me afterwards is that the doctor in the emergency room told me that I had every reason to believe that within 2 days I would be able to resume my life as I knew it. Spoiler alert, those 2 days never arrived, which is why I am here today. But it is not a sad story. So I'm going to tell my story through pictures, and I hope this will be a little entertaining for everyone tonight. So as we all know, the brain is incredibly complex. There is so much all of the fancy doctors and scientists don't know about. And unfortunately, there's no magic magnifying glass that can tell us what's happening inside of our brains. And so what that means is for each one of us, it's on each one of us to figure out how we choose to live with a concussion. Because there is no rule book, there are no guidelines, there's no way of predicting and knowing how you're going to feel every single day when you wake up. And something that everyone here in this room also knows is that concussions are invisible. So just as we are unable to look inside of our brains, everyone outside of us is unable to see and understand how we feel and what we live through day in and day out. So every day is a toss-up. And I use this metaphor quite a bit because you have no idea how you're going to feel every morning when you wake up. It's like rolling the dice. How much energy am I going to have? What activities are going to trigger what symptoms? How much are my symptoms going to impact how much can I do in a day? It's all up to chance. And so every morning I wake up, I roll the dice, I hope for the best, and then I trust that things are going to work out. In my case, some of the symptoms that I deal with today, even more than 6 years later, is chronic fatigue. And so this is me, recreated my character. An acute sensitivity to sounds. I'm wearing earplugs right now because when we did the sound check earlier, I could hear my voice in the mic. And it was interesting, the people with me, they couldn't hear that because that sound is so imperceptible. But to someone with a concussed brain, that could actually be very jarring and very distracting. And I don't leave my house without my earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. And I live with an acute sensitivity to light. Hence, the reason why the lights in the room have been dimmed so kindly for this presentation. So where does this leave us? When you're sensitive to light, when you're sensitive to noise, when you're really tired all the time, in my case, it required a lot of time sitting still. So who here in the room was told immediately after your concussion to sit still? Well, 6 years ago, that's what was prescribed. Sit still until you feel like you have a little more energy and you're able to re-engage in activities. Unfortunately, sitting still, we've since come to learn that sitting still is not good, and protocols have changed, but it's not a really fun thing to do, to sit around and to basically not be able to do the activities that bring joy and purpose into our lives, to be excluded from society, to not be able to do fun things. The toll on one's mental health is unimaginable. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is not designed for people who live with the effects of a concussion. Lights are very bright. Every time I step outside of my house, I feel like it is too loud. Going to restaurants, just navigating very simple things. Going to take public transportation, or anytime you leave your home. It's just, the world's not designed for us. But doesn't mean we should be left at home, because as everyone deserves the right to go out and about and do things that bring joy and purpose into our lives. So over the last 80 months, this morning actually I was counting how long has it been since I've received my concussion. It's been over 80 months. I've learned a couple of tricks along the way. And what I've learned is that it's for each one of us to figure out what we need to do in order to show up. And it's on us to take that initiative and to show up into the world. So this is me. I get incredibly overwhelmed in crowded public spaces. And you will most likely find me in the corner. The reason is corner tends to be a little darker, a little quieter, away from people. Being in a corner can sometimes be a little problematic when you're at a party, when everyone around you asks and wonders, where are you? When you're invited as someone's date to a wedding, but you're not actually sitting at the table with your date because you cannot be in the room. But you still choose to show up. And in my case, it's hanging out in the dark corners. It's not always the funnest thing to do, and it's not easy to be that one person that has to remove yourself from a situation. But over time, I've actually learned to love my dark corners, because sitting in the dark corners is what allows me to actually show up and still participate and still enjoy myself in ways that honor and support me in what is comfortable for me. Noise-canceling headphones, my lifeline, which unfortunately we cannot block out all of the sounds and the noises that exist in this world. I think the world would be a much better place if it were a little more quiet, but these things are a beauty. I don't go to the gym, but if I were to go to the gym, this is what my alter ego's experience would be like. Like, who's been to the gym and you see everyone around you just trying to show off? They're like pumping all of that weight, and you could see on their face, no one's actually having fun. They're just, who knows what they're trying to achieve. And this is me, right? You know, after all of these years and months of not doing anything, my muscles have been deconditioned, and it's very normal. And so it's baby steps. It's rebuilding my strength in ways that honor and work for me, which are these like cute little dumbbells, and that doesn't stop me from showing up, from going to the gym, wearing my tracksuit and being myself, my wonderful, awkward, odd self, and just being proud of who I am. And you know what? From all the people in the picture, I can tell you I'm probably having the most fun. And I think that's what anything we do in life should be all about. Now, the irony that I experience often is, and this goes with wanting to hang out in the dark corner, is oftentimes I want nothing more than just to blend into the crowd, to just be like everyone else, to not have extra attention come my way. But because the world is not designed for someone like me, when I wear my sunglasses, when I wear my hat, whenever I do things that are a little outside of what everyone else does, what I find is it actually attracts more attention my way. It's the total opposite of what I want. And it's not a fun experience to have all of this attention come my way. But what I've learned over time is when people see something that is different, when they see something that is different from what they're used to, it actually makes them feel uncomfortable. And it's through that uncomfort that they are looking at me. And it's just, honestly, over time, I've come to learn it's a projection of how they're feeling. And it has absolutely nothing to do with who I am. And so, over time, I'm becoming more confident and just choosing to own it, right? I have a beautiful collection of hats, and I wear hats every time I go out. And it's just like, rock those sunglasses and whatever things that I need to do in order to show up. So these illustrations are part of a book. I'm not done yet. Are compiled in a book that I've been creating over the last couple of years. And it's really been my story and my journey of what I have learned of living with the effects of a concussion and how that has essentially changed the way in which I look at the world. And the big thing that I've noticed is, I've seen dozens of specialists. I've interacted with so many people. And the single greatest question is, are you back at work? And that seems to be the gold star definer of what success looks like. Are you back at work? My job before my concussion required me to be on a computer screen for probably 10 hours a day. I struggle to look at computer screens today. So no, I'm not back at work. But it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me. There are so many amazing, wonderful things that I am doing today, right? It includes wearing a beautiful hat. It includes choosing to stand in the middle of the room when all I want to do is be in the back corner. It starts by choosing to wake up and accept that I'm going to roll the dice today, because this is what it means to show up. So I made these postcards, and I'm going to hand a stack out, so please pass them along. And if there's something everyone can do here today, I know everyone in this room knows someone who's been affected by a concussion. It could be yourself, or it could be a loved one. It could be a patient. Please use this card and write them a note. Tell them, what are they doing today to be brave? How are they showing up into the world? And I just think the world would be such an amazing place for those of us who live with the effects of a concussion if we celebrated and acknowledged all of the wonderful small acts of courage that we take today to show up. Because the world is not designed for us, but we are doing so much every single day. And I just wished more people would acknowledge that. So thank you.